Hello there everyone and welcome back to another edition of Inside the Inferno. I'm Blake Neiman, alongside me Aaron Gonzalez. Thank you for joining us.
Blake, it's great to be here, and boy do we have a jam-packed show in store. So without further ado, let's get right into it, starting off with news surrounding the ASU football team.
Arizona State kicker Carter Brown was named the Pac-12 Special Teams Player of the Week this past week after a standout performance in the Sun Devils' win over NAU. Here for more on the story is Inferno Intel's Kenji Ito.
As ASU football dominated over NAU last weekend with a final score of 40-3, one player on ASU's roster was honored and recognized as a Pac-12 Performance Award winner for Week 1. Freshman place kicker Carter Brown was named Pac-12 Special Teams Player of the Week. Brown went 4-for-4 on extra points and connected on field goals from 27, 36, and twice from 44 yards out, leading the Pac-12 kickers in scoring. He also made history for the Sun Devils. Brown became the first ASU kicker ever with 4 field goals in his first game, which is tied for 4th for most made field goals in one game in program history since 1996, and is the first kicker to win since Christian Zendejas, who won in the 2019 season in Week 2. Has ASU found their new and lasting kicker? And can he keep up his success with the Sun Devils? Find out how Carter Brown performs in the Week 2 matchup against Oklahoma State.
After kicking off the 2022 season with a win at home, the Sun Devils hit the road as they travel to Stillwater to take on the 11th-ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys. Inferno Intel's football reporter Ryan Blank tells us what to expect in this matchup between the Pac-12 and Big 12 schools.
After opening the season in dominant fashion against the Lumberjacks of Northern Arizona in Week 1, Arizona State hits the road for its first road test of the season as they go to Stillwater to take on the 11th-ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys. Fortunately for the Sun Devils, experiencing a hostile road environment early in the season is nothing new. Saturday will mark the 4th straight season that ASU's first road game will be against a ranked opponent. The past 3 seasons, it has been at Michigan State, USC, and BYU. On Saturday, the Sun Devil offense will face off against the Big 12's top defense from 2021. The Cowboys' defense surrendered less than 3 yards per carry and under 90 rushing yards a game last year. As Herm Edwards has emphasized all season long, the identity of the offense is the rushing attack, so being able to run the ball will be crucial. The Sun Devils have rushed for over 100 yards in each of their last 19 games, including 267 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground in Week 1. Additionally, the passing attack could see a boost this week as Oklahoma State surrendered over 400 passing yards to Central Michigan in their Week 1 victory. With the high-powered offense that the Cowboys possess, the passing game will be key in playing a role in order to keep pace throughout the game. Now let's look at the defense, where Arizona State excelled against NAU. They held the Lumberjacks to only 120 yards of total offense. This week, a different and very new test lies ahead in the dual-threat quarterback for the Cowboys, Spencer Sanders. He lit up the Chippewas last week, throwing for a career-high 406 yards and 6 total touchdowns. In last year's Fiesta Bowl, Sanders set a record for the most yards of total offense by one single player with 491, as he led Oklahoma State to the largest comeback in program history against Notre Dame. ASU's defense will have to put pressure on Sanders early and often to limit his impact on the game. Saturday's matchup will be the first game between the Cowboys and Sun Devils since 1993, which was a victory for ASU. With a win, Herm Edwards will improve to 7-6 against ranked opponents as ASU head coach. That's all for me. Now, let's take it back to Blake, who will give us some how-tos for how ASU can handle the Cowboys.
As Ryan just previewed, it is not going to be a walk in the park for Arizona State like it was against NAU last Thursday. The Sun Devils this week are faced with a much taller task in facing the number 11 ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys. The Devils look to avoid adding to the list of Pac-12 teams who have failed to get the job done in their early season primetime matchups. Last week, we saw the Oregon Ducks get flat out embarrassed by their head coach Dan Lanning's former team, the Georgia Bulldogs, 49-3. That disaster for the Ducks was then followed up by a late-game cough-up by the Utah Utes, which cost them their primetime matchup against the unranked Florida Gators 29-26. In the AP poll top 25, Oregon went from being knocking on the door of the top 10 to now being unranked, while Utah went from being in the top 10 to now on the outside looking in. This game presents the opportunity for the Sun Devils to not only change the way they are viewed, but the way the Pac-12 is viewed as a whole.
We now head slightly south of Oklahoma to the neighboring state of Texas, where the ASU volleyball will be this weekend for the Baylor Invitational. Noelle Blumel is here for more on the ASU volleyball squad.
Arizona State women's volleyball hit the road for the first time this season and significantly added to their resume in the Georgia Tech Invitational. Similar to their opening weekend, the Devils lost one game and won two, one of which was another 5-set victory. Their first match was against the University of Dayton, whose team advanced to the second round of the NCAA volleyball tournament last season. After being down by 2 sets, the Devils forced a 5-set comeback for the win, securing their second reverse sweep of the season. Junior opposite hitter Imana Sanovic had quite the weekend as well, but specifically in the first match against Dayton, in which she became the 8th Sun Devil in program history to earn 1,000 kills. The Devils secured their second win of the tournament in a 4-set match against Florida International University. Sophomore outside hitter Jelly Sear clinched the match with a season-high 14th game-winning kill. The Devils were then able to steal a set from number 5 Georgia Tech in their third and final match, but ultimately lost in 4 sets to the Yellow Jackets. The Devils now continue their month-long road trip to Waco, Texas to participate in the Baylor Invitational this weekend.
Thank you for that report, Noelle. We will continue to keep an eye on ASU volleyball from the Lone Star State and their big conference matchups over the weekend. Shifting from over the net to the back of the net, Alex Wakefield gives us an update on ASU soccer.
ASU women's soccer is in a holding period after both games scheduled for this week were canceled due to COVID cases within the ASU program. This is just another in a series of obstacles the Devils have faced this season, as 3 of their first 4 games were impacted by weather, including 2 postponements and a cancellation. However, when Sun Devil soccer has had the opportunity to take the field, it has been electric. The Devils are undefeated with 2 wins and 2 draws, and 5th-year senior forward Nicole Douglas set an all-time ASU record in career goals scored last week in their match against UAB. When the Sun Devils do return to the field, they'll be led into this next phase of the season by a super senior quartet of Douglas, midfielders Alexio Delgado and Eva Van Deersen, and forward Olivia Nguyen. And keep an eye out for Van Deersen, who with 22 assists only needs 4 more to join her teammate Douglas as an all-time ASU leader. This Wednesday, they will host Grambling State at Tempe's Sun Devil Soccer Stadium, followed by a visit from Toledo on Sunday. And we're not that far away from the start of Pac-12 conference play, folks. That will begin on Friday, September 23rd, in Boulder against Colorado.
The ASU Golf team is getting ready to tee off a new season in Scottsdale this weekend. Here with an inside look at the upcoming season is Paul Scholes.
The Sun Devil men's golf team will start its season not far from where last season ended in Scottsdale, Arizona. But the team that finished second in the nation last year will have a few new faces. While Riggs Johnston, David Pooge, and Gabe Salvanera return for a senior year, 2 newcomers will look to make an impact. Specifically, freshmen Luke Potter and Michael Mjoseth will make their debuts in the maroon and gold at the Maui Gym Invitational. Potter joins the program following a California State Individual Championship during high school, while Mjoseth was the European Young Masters champion, among other accolades. Following the graduation of 3 team members and 1 who transferred out, Coach Thurman, new assistant coach Thomas Sutton, and their squad will have quite the challenge ahead to get back to where they finished last year. On the women's side, it was announced that head coach Missy Farquet will be inducted into the Arizona Golf Hall of Fame. Farquet will begin her 8th season at the helm of the ASU program after reaching the national championship last year. With the departure of Alexandra Fursterling and Alessandra Finale, the women's team will look to build around a solid core, highlighted by junior Ashley Menny and sophomores Callan Rossholt and Grace Summerhays. With the addition of 3 new freshmen, Coach Farquet's squad will begin competition at the Annika Intercollegiate in Lake Elmo, Minnesota, beginning September 12th. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Paul. It's sure to be an interesting new season for both ASU men's and women's golf teams.
It most certainly will. Serena Williams has rightfully been absorbing the spotlight at this year's U.S. Open. Nevertheless, in the shadows of Serena, members of the ASU tennis team were competing in the Grand Slam title as well. Here with how ASU's rackets fared is Nicholas Hodel.
The ASU community made themselves known in New York over the past couple of weeks as 5 current and former Sun Devils competed at the U.S. Open. Freshman Konstantinos Kostas made it into the main draw of the junior boys singles tournament after 2 wins in the qualifying round over Marko Mesrovic and Manfredi Graziani. However, he fell to Michigan State freshman Ozan Berries in 2 straight sets in the first round of the main draw. 2 other men, current sophomore Murphy Cassone and alum Michael Geertz, lost in the first qualifying round of the men's singles tournament. On the women's side, freshman Chelsea Fontenelle lost in the first qualifying round of the junior girls singles tournament. Alum Desiree Krasiek took part in both the women's doubles and mixed doubles tournaments, finishing in the quarterfinals and the round of 16 respectively. The experience gained in New York for the current Sun Devils will be something to build off of as they are set to begin their fall seasons in the coming weeks, with plenty of representation in the ITA preseason rankings. Casonas ranked 12th in the men's singles rankings, with 2 ASU men's doubles pairings in the top 50. On the women's side, 3 Sun Devils are represented in the singles ranks, while the pairing of Patricia Spaka and Dominika Turkovic is ranked 22nd in the doubles rankings.
Nicholas, thank you for that report. Switching gears now, as the saying goes, once you become a Sun Devil, you're a Sun Devil for life. A handful of coaches here at ASU were recognized for their hard work and proud achievement. Inferno Intel's Luke Carter has more on the story.
This past Monday was Labor Day, and we want to recognize 6 head coaches here at ASU who earned degrees. First, coach of the men's golf team, Matt Thurman, who credits his degree in applied leadership at the Thunderbird School of Global Management. He says his degree has helped him relate culturally and academically with his golfers. Next is women's water polo head coach Petra Party, who graduated at ASU with a bachelor's degree in psychology. She says it is a byproduct of her being able to build a strong team culture. ASU baseball head coach Willie Bloomquist, who graduated from the W.P. Carey School of Business. He's going into his 2nd season as head coach here at ASU, and he is looking to bring the team back to the College World Series. ASU hockey head coach Greg Powers graduated from ASU with a degree in broadcast journalism. Women's golf head coach Missy Farr-Kay, who has been extremely successful over 13 years as a head coach here at ASU. She has won the team 2 national championships and 6 Pac-12 titles. She graduated from ASU with a bachelor's degree in organizational communication. And lastly, ASU wrestling coach Zeke Jones, who's a 3-time Pac-12 Coach of the Year and has rebuilt the culture of Sun Devils wrestling into a top-tier program in the country, graduated from ASU with a degree in corporate financial management.
The college football playoff just recently announced that it will be expanding. Here with more details on the expansion and what it will mean for ASU along with other Pac-12 teams is Inferno Intel's Ari Wohl.
On Friday, the College Football Playoff Board of Managers unanimously voted to expand the playoffs from 4 to 12 teams in 2026, though it could change as soon as 2024. The 4 highest-ranked conference champions will hold the top 4 seeds and will each receive a first-round bye. The 5 through 12 seeds will play in the first round during the 2nd or 3rd week of December. The quarterfinals and semifinals will be played in bowl games, and the championship will be held at a neutral site as it is under the current playoff format. Shortly following the news, the Pac-12 released a statement saying the college football playoff expansion will provide increased access and excitement and is the right thing for our student athletes and fans. The Pac-12 is currently preparing to lose USC and UCLA to the Big Ten, and if the Pac-12 wants a better chance of being represented in the expanded playoffs, it stands to reason they will look to replace those 2 California teams soon. Commissioners and athletic directors across all conferences are continuing to meet to discuss any logistical issues as there is a strong push to implement the expanded playoffs in 2024.
Thank you, Ari. We're hoping we'll start to see some Pac-12 faces as a result of the CFP expansion, given that USC and UCLA are leaving for the Big Ten in 2024. Speaking of leaving, former ASU quarterback Jaden Daniels made a surprising move by transferring from ASU to LSU. Inferno Intel's Sam Valenti is here to discuss Daniels' debut with the Tigers from the Bayou.
One of the biggest stories of the offseason for Sun Devil football was the departure of quarterback Jaden Daniels. Despite initially announcing a return to Tempe, Daniels decided to take his talents to Baton Rouge and play for LSU. Last Sunday, JD5 made his debut for the Tigers against Florida State at the Superdome. With the national audience watching, Daniels ended up having a very good showing, throwing for 209 yards and 2 touchdowns, while also rushing for 114 yards. Daniels became just the 2nd LSU quarterback to have 200 passing yards and 100 rushing yards in a game. The other quarterback? Some guy named Joe Burrow. Jaden saved his best stuff for the 4th quarter, bringing his team back from 14 points down to within 1 point of overtime. Unfortunately for Daniels and the Tigers, there was no overtime to be had, as the Seminoles blocked the extra point attempt, leaving the Superdome stunned in disbelief. Even though he started out the season on the losing side of things, Jaden Daniels has already shown LSU fans the talent that he displayed right here in Tempe at Sun Devil Stadium. And perhaps leaving the desert will turn out to be a smart decision for him. Only time will tell. That's all I got for you today. This has been Sam Valenti. Have a golden day.
Thank you, Sam. We will continue to keep an eye on Daniels and his success this season. ASU basketball is just around the corner, and the Sun Devils are already looking to add talent to their roster in the coming years. The Sun Devils landed a top prospect in the 2023 class this week. Ben Yates has more with the Sun Devils' newest addition.
Last season, the Sun Devil men's basketball team struggled to find ways to get to the paint and score. Well, Coach Bobby Hurley may have just recruited the perfect guy for the job. Akil Watson, 4-star recruit from Marcel, New Jersey. At 6'8" and 205 pounds, this forward is a versatile player who makes driving through 5 other guys for a layup look all too easy. Averaging just about 12 points and 7 rebounds in high school, a good comparison to look for is in Pascal Siakam of the Toronto Raptors. A good complement to a team that can be found driving inside, laying it up, and just throwing it down, or getting open from the wing to take a long-range shot. Watson truly brings what the Sun Devils need, and Coach Hurley not only got an interior threat, but a fair shooter as well, with incredible rebounding abilities. Watson will fit right into a good starting role here immediately as a freshman next year, and a key offensive threat for the Sun Devils to look for, gliding towards the rim.
From transfers like Emory Jones to high school prospects like Akil Watson, Arizona State continues to bring in high-level athletes into the Valley.
That's a wrap for this edition of Inside the Inferno. You can check out our content on our website, infernointel.com, as well as follow Inferno Intel on Twitter @InfernoIntel to get live updates on Sun Devil sports throughout the season.
For Blake Neiman and the rest of the crew, I'm Aaron Gonzalez. Thank you for the pleasure of your time. We'll see you again next week.